Yeah.
That'd be cool. All right, sweet. So, Brad, I'll do the intro separate. Why don't you
Okay.
tell us, tell the audience where you live, how long you've been married, how many kids you have, and what your current profession is?
Um, all right. So my name's Brett Quartert. I live in Hilton. I am a realtor. I've been doing this going on 13 years this year. I have been married for 4 going on 5 years. And I have one daughter. She is 3.
Awesome. What's your daughter's name?
Kennedy.
Kennedy. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and Hilton is in New York, and I actually a little background here. Brad's wife's sister, so Brad's sister-in-law, I went to high school with and graduated. So little connections. So how did the two of you guys meet, you and your wife?
We actually met at work. So my wife was newly licensed, and it just kind of went off. We both were just just fresh out of previous relationships, both I would consider long term, and things just kind of progressed. Neither of us looking for anything to come out of just a normal work relationship.
Yeah. And do you guys still work together?
We do.
Perfect. This is going to be a great conversation then. You're the first victim I have that works with their wife, so that's
I
great.
work with my wife, my mother, and my sister. So
All right. How do you is there the first question I'll ask then, is there like a separation between home and work, or does it kind of blend?
everything
Um,
blends. We
yeah.
try. We try to separate, but I mean, you can only do so much of separation when the entire family's in one business, and we work together hand in hand on a daily basis. So there's always
So
blending of everything.
yeah, I'd imagine that. And so what I think when I hear that is at work, you two, you and Katie, I was saying Nicole, you and
It's all
Katie,
right.
see probably like a different side of each other than
Yeah. Oh
than
yeah.
at home. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Because your strengths come out differently when you're at work, and your weaknesses come out differently. I would say when you're at work compared to, when you're at home being a parent and a husband, right?
Yep.
Um, do you guys, what would you say your biggest struggle is with that situation right now?
It's always just it's always trying the separation. So the separation of work and home. So when you get home, you try to be home, but with what we do as being realtors, our days never really stop even when we are home.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of trying to find that happy medium balance of like, okay, for myself, when I get home, my phone usually gets placed aside somewhere, or at least try to, um, until we put Kennedy to bed, and then it's back to work for however long, I need to or she needs to in the evening.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of the easiest way to do it for us. Doesn't always work that way.
Right.
Depends on what deals we have going on, who needs something immediate, who doesn't. It's kind of it's a balancing act, and it's always ever changing.
So in real estate, and I'm gonna bounce around here because we have a
Yeah, you're
half hour,
fine.
so I want to bounce around. In real estate, you say talking about who needs your attention and when. Are you learning that like you don't have to respond right away to somebody and it's going to be okay, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been a long time. I lived we'll say first, 3/4 of my career doing this, as my phone was always on whenever, somebody would text me in 1 in the morning and I was up, I would answer.
Mhm.
Now I set boundaries up front. So my clients and customers understand that I work one day on the weekend. I don't work both anymore. So it's a first come, first serve basis of, first customer or client that comes to me and says, hey, I want to go look at houses on Saturday. Well, anybody else that wants to look on the weekend, we're looking on Saturday. Um, so that's kind of how we try to, gauge boundaries now.
Okay.
Now there's always the outliers, and there's some weekends I work both days or Katie works both days.
Sure.
It's rare now, but it still happens. We just kind of, have to figure out what we each have going on, what Kennedy has going on.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, we have a foreign exchange student this year. So we have to check her schedule as well to make sure that we can one of us is available for her.
Oh, wow. I'll get to that in a second.
Throw another dynamic in there
Yeah,
for
figure out, I'm curious as to why or how that happened, but I'm not going to ask that yet.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, yeah. So talking about that, was it, so I have a question work-wise for that. So has that been, did that hurt your business, or are your clients actually respectful of that and they actually respect you because you have boundaries?
There's a lot more respect now.
Isn't that
A
crazy?
lot more. It's so counterintuitive to the way we think. It took me a while to get there. I mean, like I said, I'm going on 13 years. I took a small hiatus and had an insurance agency for a few years in there. But I mean, with all of it, it's just kind of, trying to change the mindset of going from I'm at everybody's, whim and need whenever they need it instead of my own. As soon as we had Kennedy, everything changed. It's like, all right, how do we figure out how to be more attentive at the family level on top of being attentive to the business and doing more business, because we're not here to kind of stay stagnant with the numbers that we're doing. We're here to grow the business of what we have.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. And what's your definition? Again, like I said, I'm going to be jumping around here. What's your definition of being a real man? Like, what would you define as a real man today?
Interesting question.
Yeah.
I would say, the old ways of, the man just being the sole provider have kind of gone to the wayside. Each family has their own thing. My wife does not work full time like she used to. So it's a little bit different for us, where I do kind of, take the brunt of the work on. But it's equal playing field for everybody. That's really what it is. It's being respectful of your spouse, and making sure that you have the right amount of time. I'm not saying that time's always perfect with the family, just time for the wife or just time for the kids. But it's trying to, it's finding that happy medium balance of making sure that everybody's taken care of, including yourself.
Yeah. I love that. And it sounds like you're very aware of making sure that you're making enough time, because real estate, it's a whole nother ball game when it comes to work. I understand.
Our schedules are completely kind of dependent on our clients and customers' schedule.
I get it. And so you have to be extra aware and put extra effort in. And that's what I like to, when I talk to individuals, is realize it's just like going to the gym or eating healthy. You can't just do it 1 day a week or 2 days a week. It's a daily or every other day thing that you have to, put time into and work on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise you can fall off pretty quickly, just like any
very fast.
When it comes to your guys' relationship, do you guys talk about like where you see your family and where you want to be 5 years from now? Because you obviously, as a company, you guys are if people listening, they're one of the top real estate groups in the area in Rochester. So obviously you guys set goals. You guys have, team meetings, a vision, all that stuff. Do you bring that kind of same stuff to your new family that you have?
We try. So, a lot of, I'm very work motivated. I enjoy my work. So it's kind of what keeps my energy going and what is kind of my, I look at it as my purpose. So, we have goals for the family, of kind of, and they're not huge goals. They're just kind of small stepping stones to kind of figure out, nobody knows where the next 5 years are going to bring us. So we kind of try and plan things out, and stick to it, but we kind of just work with what's kind of given. I mean, I'm not going to say we go with the flow entirely, but we have a kind of a method to the madness of what we're doing.
Okay. All right. I can appreciate that. And what about like over the last 10 years, what do you think mentally, if you look back and think about it for a second, mentally, what has like been the biggest challenge that you've had? Like the hardest thing you've gone through in the last 10 years?
There's a lot.
Okay, flip a coin on a few of them, but throw one or two out there that was really,
So So I'll go one on the personal side and one on the work side for you. Personal side went through, I personally went through a hard time with having Kennedy. So I didn't grow up around kids. The whole love at first sight thing was very different to me. So not that I didn't love my kid at all. It just was kind of a, I struggled trying to figure out what my purpose was at that point.
Mm,
It took a little bit, but worked through it and figured it out. And now I'm loving life as a dad and
great.
kind of going through the motions. Um, professionally, there's always a ton. I went through a hard, just got finished with an audit with the IRS. So that was
The
not a
company or
fun.
your own stuff?
It was mixed. It was from the sale of my previous business
Okay.
and an error from my old accountant. And we kind of had to fix all of it. And it was a
Oof.
long 3-year ordeal, but finally got through it last year and now onward and upward from there.
Yeah, dealing with that, new kid, you trying to grow your business. I could imagine. And was that financially? This is just curious. Financially, does
Yeah.
that cost a lot to get audited like that and go through
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Jeez, they
A lot
probably
more
take.
than a lot more than you want to spend,
Yeah,
but
they want to get
to
you. They
be
want.
handled correctly, we got to, you got to hire the right people and do the right things. And I'm
Right.
not an accountant, nor do I try to be. So it's having the right team around you to kind of make things work.
Yeah, I have my own thoughts on that situation as a business owner. It's like they come in and, okay, how much money can we take from this guy and how much time can we take so they could keep paying us more money to figure shit out? That's kind of that's what it
I'm
seems
right
like
there
it
with you. I just went through it.
is. So let's talk about a little bit about emotions here.
Yeah.
Wait, I've asked a few people this and it's been interesting, but when's the last time that you cried over something?
Probably not that long ago.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I'm kind of right there with it.
Nice.
So I'm not, I don't know. I can't put my finger on exactly when, but I'd say
Yeah.
within the last like probably 2 months. Um,
And why do
and
you
it
think
could
you're able
range.
to have those emotions? Like a lot for males, a
I,
lot of guys,
yeah.
it's that cover up and
I mean, both my parents were business owners growing up. Both my parents kind of instilled certain values. They were both private Catholic school kids growing up. So, their morals and ethics and those types of things. And they've kind of instilled that into my sister and I. And we were always a family that kind of always talked. So, and worked through problems. So I've never had an issue, kind of, you know, basically having my emotions out there.
oh,
Um,
nice.
you know, having certain conversations are always difficult and may not have them in the appropriate time frame that they should be had, but
Sure,
things
sure.
that you got to continuously work on. It's
Absolutely.
always
And
personal improvement.
I like that. That's awesome. And what about now you said you have a coach. So
Yes.
why do you, well, first of all, how long have you had a coach for and why do you have a business and life coach combo there?
So I've had a coach going on 5 years, might be a
Wow.
little bit longer than that. Um, See her weekly. Always have. Sessions range in time from an hour to 3, depending on what we needed to accomplish. Um, but it's a pivotal mindset shift for myself because I had a coach just a real estate coach in the very beginning of my career. And at that point, I noticed how helpful it was. And it's not necessarily the accountability part; it's the ability to talk through things, have a different perspective, somebody that isn't surrounded so specifically in my life
Hmm.
that I work with or hang out with, whomever that may be. Um, and they're objective. So they're always going to tell me what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. They're not going to just tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just, my current coach, I've been, like I said, 5 years. Don't plan on, changing that up anytime soon because we worked, a lot of things out, both on a lot on the professional side and on the personal side of kind of making sure that it's a happy medium. balance for me. Everybody's balance is going to be different. And I get that. So it's just kind of working that out and then working out whatever's going on, whether it's a very specific thing that day or something that, my kind of passion project / long-term goal project that I've been working on for a long time now. We talk about that on we'll call it pretty, at least once a month basis of kind of where things are, how I'm doing, what new connections I've made,
Nice.
how I can utilize certain connections to help get that going.
So do you attribute a lot of, I don't want to say your success, but I guess do you attribute a lot of it to your coach or some of it at least to where you're
Yeah,
at
I
right now in
definitely
life?
contribute. Yes, I contribute a lot of where I'm at right now to my coach.
So you recommend,
And
that's interesting. That's awesome.
it's I think looking back, I wish I would have started a lot earlier in
Ah,
life doing it.
cool. That's cool. And as far as you seem like you're, a high achiever. You really set high standards for yourself personally and professionally. If there's an area in your life right now where you're like, man, I probably should be focused on that a little more or try to put a little more time and energy into that,
It's
what would
always
it
the
be?
home life. It's always
Is it
the
the
home
home life?
life.
Is it the home
Yeah,
life? Okay.
always.
Always.
There's never a point where I've been at yet where I've been like, I've got the perfect balance at
Yeah.
home. Like like I said, I'm extremely motivated. Work is like I said, work is kind of my muse and what I view as my purpose. So home is always kind of top of mind of like, I always wish I could have a little bit more time, but I have to kind of, like find that balance.
Absolutely, 100%. It's tough. I personally, to relate to that, I have tried, and I'm kind of doing it still, is scheduling my work schedule around my personal life. So like I look at what I want to do first. So do I want to take the kids somewhere on Tuesday? If I do, then I'm blocking off that time and then working the other hours instead of
Which
like
that's yeah,
the
it's definitely the
opposite.
benefit with my schedule and being
Yeah.
self-employed. I can
Yeah.
do that. So like there's days where my wife will call me and like, hey, I'm gonna take Kennedy to the zoo. And she's like, you got anything going on? And I'm like, no, I can take 2 hours and meet you guys
Sweet.
at the zoo.
That's
And we go. So I mean, those are the things that kind of help me, balance everything out of like, take 2 hours out of the day and go do this. And I got appointments at night anyways. So what's the difference of, taking a couple hours now compared to taking 2 hours when I get home normally
yeah.
to
Having
hang
a
out.
business, working hard, having those hours, how's your sleep? Curious.
Some days are better than others.
So it's not consistent.
No, I mean, like, I started getting back into the gym about a little over a month ago. That's helped. Um, but like this morning I was supposed to be at the gym at a certain time and I woke up and I'm like, I'm half hour late to being at the gym. I'm like, looks like, the gym's on hold for today and we're gonna have to find time later today to get there.
And no, that's not going to happen. We know that.
No, no. My
Let's
day,
be honest.
I know this. So tomorrow morning I'm just gonna have to get up a little earlier and go and do some extra work then instead.
Yeah, I did. So I flew in late from Las Vegas for a work trip, and this morning I was like, I know I'm going to be tired in the morning, so I'll just like go to the gym later. And there's like probably a 75% chance that I actually won't go, and I know
And
that.
it's like 90 on me.
Yeah,
Like
90. Yeah. You're probably right. So it's about that getting that done in the morning is super
exactly.
important, right? Yeah. And we can't beat ourselves up if we don't go because
No.
we just know it's just naturally human behavior.
I checked today off as my body needed some more rest, so it's a rest day for me.
Okay, there we go. And that's why this conversation's scheduled,
Exactly.
right? There we go. What is there anything that we just talked about sleep, so keeps you up at night, like you're like afraid of, on a daily basis or a weekly basis?
Fear, no.
Nothing you're afraid
There's
of.
very little that I'm truly afraid of.
Yeah.
It's more my mind racing, different thoughts, different ideas, different, trying to problem solve something that is going on, whether it's an issue for a client or, like I said, my passion project that I continuously work on. That's what generally keeps my mind racing at night.
All right, I'm interested. Okay, cool. And what about? I have an interesting question for you. Because you meet a lot of people, you probably have
Yes.
gotten screwed over a few times here and there, I'd imagine.
Just a couple.
just a couple. Is your philosophy get revenge or kill them with kindness?
It's always kill with kindness. Always. There's, I mean, I'm a big
Why?
believer in karma.
Okay.
So if somebody does somebody wrong, karma will eventually catch up. It's
Yeah.
probably not going to be me; it'll be somebody else. But somebody will they'll get what they deserve. That's kind of how I look at it.
And it's probably better for your peace of mind too. So it's
Yeah.
not like a chip on your shoulder constantly to
Yeah.
try and get them back or something, right?
Yes. 100%.
That's awesome. I like that because that's my answer too, is kill them with kindness. And I've had different answers from people. So
Oh yeah, trust me. I have plenty of friends that would completely go the opposite route of like revenge is the best option. And I'm like, I don't know about that because it takes more time to get revenge than to just be nice and just move on.
yeah, that's great advice, man. That's really good advice. What like if you're out in the world, you deal with a lot of different types of people. What really like makes you smile when you talk to, or makes your heart warm up or makes you happy, or what do you like to see from people that when you're dealing with them? Curious. That
Hmm.
instant connection where you're like, I
Yeah,
like this person. What is it for you? What is it?
it's always kind of for me, it's always the appreciation of what we do because there's not a ton of people. There's not enough people that appreciate exactly what we do. We're not just here to like. I'm not just a salesperson because I honestly don't even look at my job as a sales job.
Mm.
I'm a coordinator. That's really what I do. I coordinate things and make sure that things go as smooth as absolutely possible. So it's like I have one client right now, and this is probably the best way to kind of describe your question. We've had this is her third house that I've sold for her this year or within the last 6 months. They're rental properties. The last two had some problems. They were bumpy. But she continued. She called me back to sell the other one because she knows that I had her back, and that I was there for her and making sure that things got done the way she wanted it, and not just me trying to get the sale done. Because I tend to preface, certain questions with people that they have about, are you just doing this for the money? It's like, we do enough business, one deal, me to just kind of try and make a sale to make a quick dollar. It's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to help people achieve what they want, whether it's buying their first house or buying the luxury house that they've always wanted. It doesn't matter. We don't there's no discrimination. You're going to get the same service from me if you're selling a $60,000 house or buying, a $800,000 house. It doesn't matter.
I like that. That's awesome, man. And I'll ask you this question here. A final question is, if you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self anything, and they would listen. Okay, I don't know how good of a listener you were at 18. I wasn't. What's some advice or some like words of wisdom that you would give to that 18-year-old person?
Um, I would say stick with following your dream, no matter what the case is, and put the blinders on and just kind of go down the path. Don't stray, um, and save some more money. Don't spend it all being stupid.
That's good. I love that little tidbit at the end there. That's great. I wish I told myself that too.
I wish I told myself that too, because I'm like, I look back and I'm like, man, I had a lot of fun, but I'm like, if I would have saved like half of what I spent back then, I'm like, I'd be in a completely different spot right now.
Yeah. What actually, you know what? I never went back to. I was curious. I usually end with that and stop, but I was curious why you took a foreign student on. What was that?
So very random. My wife and I talked about it. I'd say like March, April of last year. And I was finally, as going back to what I had said about kind of figuring out being a dad and being comfortable with all of that. I had finally gotten to a point where I was comfortable, happy. And I was like, you know what, this year isn't the right year for us to do it. Come August, my wife's cousin was hosting a foreign exchange student. So she went to the airport to pick him up with them, and had found out then that a student was in a home that was not the greatest situation. So she was asked if she would consider doing it. So she came home and told me and gave me the kind of situation. And I sat back and I was like, all right, if this was my daughter, what would I want?
Yeah.
And I basically kind of was like, if this were my kid, I'd want somebody like us to step up, take her on, and, help and give the experience that they're looking for. So that's ultimately why we ended up doing it. It was not part of the plans for the year, but it's been a great thing. She's 17. She's from Italy.
What's the number
She's
one thing you've learned so far from that?
a lifestyle, huge difference. Very laid back, very family oriented. Where we're always on the go. I mean, part of it is the work lifestyle we have. Part of it is just the American lifestyle that everybody tries to pack as much into a day as possible. They don't kind of sit back and smell the roses with the people that they care about and love.
Mm.
So we've started doing more with, our close friends. We make sure that, at least once a month, the friends that we have, we're getting together with at, our house, their house, wherever the case may be, with the kids. Um, you know, uh, my family does Sunday dinner every Sunday. um, it's kind of just, we've all kind of taken a little note from that, not slowing down too much,
Right,
but
right.
slowing down enough to start to appreciate more of that type of lifestyle than what we're all used to, especially in New York. We all kind of just run and gun,
Yeah.
no matter what the situation
You're
is.
right. I love that, Brad. I love that. That's really a beautiful thing that you did that. And I think where my curious question started, where is you have people in your family, whether it's your in-laws or whatever, that have gone through the foreign exchange program or taken on kids. So
Yeah.
that kind of made you guys even think about that in the first place. And then this kind of happened. So I see. It makes total sense. And that's awesome. And do you know if there's like a place people can, a site or someone, if anybody else wanted to do something like that?
There's a couple. The Most of the Rotaries do it. We went
Okay.
through a company or an organization called CIEE. Um,
CIEE.
yep,
Okay.
and they're they're huge. So they had students from all over the world this year. I think 20 something students in Rochester this year,
Huh.
from different parts of the world. So, and there's different programs. There's 6 months programs, full school year programs.
Ah,
Um, so there's all different stuff.
yeah.
And we just so happened to end up doing it. And it's been, my daughter loves her. Um,
Sure. That's cool.
she loves her friends that come over and hang out. So it's kind of like a whole different experience for her, especially being 3 and learning. And I got we Vittoria is her name, and we have her trying to teach Kennedy some Italian. So unlike myself and my wife who can't speak another language, I'm like, start you young so you can learn and be a little bit of, it's not as hard to try and learn the older you
Cool.
get. So
Cool.
yeah.
That's great. All right. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording now.